What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this lovely Monday evening. My monitor's all like messed up. What's going on, Pokey9er? AZ Stacy, I had a ring sent in the mail that was a hoarding dragon with a horde of dice, and I have it now. A ring sent in the mail. I'd be interested to see that. Curious about what that is. All right. So yeah, post it over in the Discord. Very curious to see what this thing looks like. So tonight we got a couple questions we're going to answer. I got a ooh, excuse me. I got a new book that there we go. I got a new book I want to show off today. It's not really D&D, but it's like very tangential to D&D. So I just kind of want to talk about it. I thought it looked interesting and decided to pick it up. And then yeah, we're gonna answer some questions. Now I know that Stacy, you had mentioned this in the DM advice corner over in the Discord. You said about the random topic selection in the D&D questions document. Those have been there since like day one. Those were just random questions that I had found online. So it was like different things that could be talked about more if I was running it in like a podcast style with other folks. So yeah, I don't know if we'll get to those, or if I ever do decide to like fully commit to actually doing a podcast style, you know, stream setup with somebody else. Maybe I'll touch on those, but as of right now, I mainly keep those ones reserved. But I mean, you're able to formulate your own opinions on them. So one of the things though that I want to talk about is I have recently backed a handful of Kickstarters, and one of the ones that I really looked at that I'm super interested in is wait, let me pull up a screen here. So one of the Kickstarters that I recently backed is called Spectacular Shops and Services for 5e. It's basically, you know, one of the things that I feel like is often I feel like there's a lot of books out there with like shops and taverns and whatnot, but I just don't think there's ever really enough. Yeah, so with this, they have different shops, inns, taverns, services, engaging NPC business owners, thematic quests and inventory, new magic items and gear. So yeah, I was looking into this. I thought it looked pretty interesting. I think there's a fair amount of diversity there. Some cool looking items. So you know, obviously I'm not getting anything out of, you know, showcasing this other than I just kind of want to show this, because this is one that is still going on. You can actually still go and back this if you want. I'm going to leave a link there in the chat. Oh, okay. Okay, I see what you mean now by, okay, funny enough, I actually have a set of those dice, only mine are black metal. They're like gunmetal gray. very hard to see, but you can see that D4 there in the corner. Yeah, there's those are some nice little tiny dice. They look sick, man. Now you always be prepped and ready. You know, it's like always having some dice on you. I love these little dice. They're so tiny. Oh Christ. But literally the thing that you stay there. But literally the thing that I'm so terrified of is dropping these and one of my dogs eating them. You don't like how small the dice are because they're incredibly zoomed in. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I can tell how small they are because they I mean they do I guess mine are just a hair bigger than yours. So yeah, this is the D20 in my set. Keep it on my desk. It's part of my decor. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to showcase this Kickstarter. It's definitely going to hit its pledge goal. So then you have gigantic hands. Oh, I see that. Let me see. What are some other ones? I know I've backed a lot recently. That's right. Yeah, I got a couple that I'm working on, but don't want to show off all of them. Want a tiny set. I definitely don't back all of them. I do back a lot though. There is one that I'm still sitting on the fence of, and that is this. The crystals. Oh yeah, that's, oh geez. If you got gigantic hands, that thing might be a little bit smaller than mine. Yeah, might be a little bit smaller than mine. Yeah, I'm still sitting on the fence with this one. A solo adventure survival, or a survival solo adventure. I'm kind of iffy about it. I'm not 100% on board with it just yet. As far as I know, it's like, I mean, it's just a single player thing. So kind of like on that, because I feel like I wouldn't get a ton of use out of it. But if you are curious about that and want to think, is that the correct link? Yes. Yeah, you can check that out there. But no, it is, couldn't get the ring any bigger. It's on 14. Oh yeah, we have about the same ring size. My wedding band is right next to me. It's a 13. It doesn't fit right now. But yeah, I've backed a lot of, I wouldn't say I back all of them. I definitely back a lot of them. Middle finger is 14 and a half. Oof. I think I couldn't really say anymore. But yeah, I back a lot of, I recently backed the a card game by Circle Tunes HD on YouTube. It's really sick looking, like you know, tabletop card game that you play with your friends. So one of my buddies told me about it, and I decided I was going to grab a pack so we could play together. Obviously, the World of Battle Zoo, I think this one was the Island Adventures and stuff like that. Spectacular Shop's the one that I just talked about. That still is able to Jesus Christ. Memento Mori, this one just recently ended. It's a Victorian Gothic horror steampunk campaign setting. So I'm really interested to see how this one comes out. I'm kind of like on the fence a lot of times when it comes to like steampunk, like gothic horror, but there's a lot of things that I do like about it. How magic is kind of like waning in this universe, and science and technology is kind of coming into its standing. So kind of got that one, caught my attention. And then, you know, I have a handful of other ones that I'm waiting on, so I keep looking at them, keep waiting. Kalia's Chronicle of Runes, a runic expansion, so I love runes. I think they're cool. I have runes tattooed on my arms, so this one was right up my alley. But it's this one was really cool because it's runes in every language. So there was a lot of stuff on here, and one of the cool things that they had was where was it? Oh yeah, that's right. They did have they had some new races: Azer, Blood Dwarf, Kobold Viper, Kismet Halfling, Unbound Archon, Half Giant, and Arachnidrow. But I was loving Hell Knight Fighter, Dragon Domain Cleric, the Circle of Calamity, and Seasonal Sorcery Sorcerer, which I know is going to be right up Stacy's alley. But the thing that really caught me was just how many people were actually a part of this one. And on top of that, where is it? Here they are. They actually have different they have fonts for every one of the languages, so you could actually get the fonts for the computer. And I was super interested in that because I like fonts. I like using them because I like doing some art stuff here and there, and to just be able to have like a handful of D&D fonts that are actually in the languages would be sick. Unfortunately, I did not get this this scroll, the rolling table. I forget exactly what I got. What is it? The book, the hard book. I got the font. I think I only got one of them. I got a set of rune cards, a translation key, and oh yeah, the Masters of the Gauntlet compendium. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, always, I mean, that's one thing. Like, Kickstarter is one of those things that I'm constantly on the lookout. I'm trying to see what new stuff is out there, what people are going to be coming out with. So, and then this way I can share it with everyone, because that's how D&D should be, sharing the content with people. That's my dinner. Bowl of cereal. Keep dipping out of Elven. Sylvan is one of those ones that, like, I'm kind of like, eh. I know I often choose it if I'm playing like an elf character or if I'm making an elf character. All right, so excuse me. I'm gonna move this over to the point that I now imagine Iluna talks to anime in Sylvan. I mean, as long as Iluna knows it, that's, you know, as long as Iluna knows it, then you could make the argument. I mean, I even know, I know for a fact that Jared, Gerard speaks to Neogiri in Sylvan. That's their shared language. And that was something that we set up a long time ago, because that's the one language that Neogiri knows. Yeah, that was one, because he's from the Fae as well. So I gotta switch different thing. There we go. All right, I'm gonna pull up some of these questions here, because there's some questions over in the Discord. But I have an idea for a character that's a werewolf who eats the people he kills. Wait, I have an idea for a character that's a werewolf who eats the people he kills, but he doesn't see it as bad because he just sees himself as an animal, and he's a good cook, but makes sure his food is kept away. Okay. I mean, that's reasonable. Because I mean, that's reasonable. I played a necromancer once before, who was a lizard folk, and he would, anytime that they had to kill somebody, he would take their body and he would strip it, and so he would set aside the meat, and he would eat the meat, and then he would take the bones and he would put them into a bag, and he would animate them later. So, you know, that was his whole shtick, was that he ate the meat from the creatures that he killed, more of like an economical thing of, I need bones to do my magic, and so if this body's just gonna sit here and rot, then, you know, he's a cook, he keeps his food away from the other part. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that would be reasonable. You know, obviously there's gonna be those, you know, potential internal party conflicts of, you know, some other party members might not be too keen on that, but you know, that's a good character development moment. Learn early on, he doesn't hide it, doesn't brag about it either. It's just kind of the natural cycle. Like, you don't tell how much people you breathe. Yeah, I mean, arguably you don't tell people how much you breathe, but I think there's also a bit of a difference there. All right, what are these questions? Oh, those were from the DM Academy. I was like, what the fuck are those? Yeah, like I said, I think it's totally fine. You know, it's I think it's reasonable as long as you you know, as long as your allies know, you know, I think that's perfectly fine. Doesn't see anything wrong with it. It's just in his mind, he's just an animal. Animals eat people all the time. Yeah, no, I get it. I totally understand it. Like I said, my necromancer, my necromancer was exactly the same way. For him, it was because he was a lizard folk. Lizard folk in his world, they ate the bodies of their kills, and even of those allies that that exist around them. So and I actually recently played this up in one of my sessions at my library game, where the players in that party found out that while their kind of rival group, their foil group, was out on an adventure, that they ended up the Goliath barbarian in their group ended up dying in combat with a giant. So the Goliath barbarian was I think his name was Terramok Bonebreaker, and he had a goal where in order for him to be respected in his tribe, he had to kill a giant. As a warrior, as a member of like the warrior class, he had to go and kill a giant in order to be respected. So that party, you know, while the actual D&D party was doing their thing, they were off doing something else, and they encountered a stone giant. And Terramok was like, I must kill this on my own. I must fight him and win in one-on-one combat. And he ended up losing. He ended up literally having his back broken, and then the stone giant like crushed him. So the rest of the party, they were able to drive away the stone giant, and then they brought Bonebreaker's body back with them to the town of Phandalin, and that's where my players found out what happened. But they have a lizard folk druid in the party, and he's kind of built around necromancy and like not necessarily necromancy. I'm currently writing notes on a druidic subclass where when you go about your day, you can eat the creatures that you kill, and you gain their strength. And when you wild shape, you can actually, instead of turning into another creature, you can use your wild shape ability to gain some of the powers and prowess and physical characteristics of the creatures that you eat. So I'm actually working on that, but that's what this lizard folk druid is. His name is Cogris. And when the party met up with the Silver Linings is what the other party is called. When they met them and they found out that he died, Cogris was like, yes, but we kept his body. We plan on eating it to gain his strength. And the rest of the party was like, oh, no, we don't. And he's like, I plan on eating his body to gain his strength. And they were kind of uneasy about that, but the fighter in my group and the barbarian in my group were like, yeah, this is a cultural thing for you. We want to partake in it. If eating the flesh of this Goliath is going to gain you strength, why would it not gain us some strength? So the way that I had it was that the two of them who actually took time, you know, to sit with Cogris and eat the flesh of this great Goliath warrior, they actually got a strength boost for the next 24 hours. They actually have a +1 to their strength, which put them both up to a 20, or no, it was a +2. They both have an 18 strength, and it put them up to a 20. So for like the next 24 hours, they get that bonus from eating the flesh of Terramok. So it again, for Cogris, it's totally natural. He doesn't even think twice about it. You know, he would. If the mage were to fall, he'd be like, we must eat them so that we can gain their magic, so that their magics can protect us. Or if the rogue were to die, he'd be like, we must eat them so that we may be stealthy like they are. It's a really fun way to play the character, and yeah, it does come up with some awkward moments, but it's really fun. So definitely a good time. All right, so like I said before, there was a couple questions over in the Discord. If you are watching this live and you are curious yourself about but if you have questions, if you want my opinion on anything while you watch this, or if you come up with a question at any other time, there is a DM Advice Corner chat over in my Discord. You can go over there and ask your questions. And there's some other folks over there that answer questions as well. Hawketh and Mizroy are over there. Mizroy does a lot of Pathfinder stuff. But yeah, you can get some good advice over there. So, but gonna answer these two that were here, and the first one is what is my opinion on what happens to a simulacrum in an anti-magic field? Now, I am assuming that when it says what happens to a simulacrum, you are referring to the spell simulacrum, because arguably, I don't like that this is like the term for it, because let's be real here. It like simulacrum, it is an illusory duplicate. Like, what happens to anything magic in an anti-magic field? It stops existing. Right there. Let me zoom in. Right there. Until dispelled. So I don't even know if I'd necessarily say like that this is my opinion, because a simulacrum is an illusory duplicate. It's an illusion, and it says that multiple times in here. So, you know, like it's specifically an illusion spell. It's made of ice and snow. Yeah, here it is. It's formed of ice and snow. It says that it's an illusory duplicate. It calls it an illusion right here. At the end of the day, while it does use the statistics of the creature it duplicated, granted that it's a construct, it is a magic spell. It is a magic effect. And thus, I mean, it stops existing. And I'm just yeah, I mean, we can just copy and paste this right there. It reverts to snow and melts instantly, because that's exactly what would happen. No question. So, because that's really like the thing that can be used against a simulacrum, because simulacrums really aren't meant. It's not a spell meant for the players. That's the thing. This is one of those spells that's not really meant for the players. This is a spell meant for the DM. Okay, that's why it's limited to so few different classes. The wizard and the arcana cleric are really the only main ones. It takes 12 hours to cast. It also costs 1,500 gold. And, you know, yes, there's all the theory crafting of if you cast Simulacrum and then cast Wish and, you know, keep going back and forth with that whole thing about creating an army, you know, it's a fun theory, but this is very much meant to be, you know, what happens, you know, this is meant for, you know, this is definitely meant more for the DM, not meant for players. It seems like it. Fuck was that noise? It seems like I've seen it talked in relation to players using it. I'm sure that players have. I'm sure that players have used it. So, sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. Got Bo a new little bed, and I think he was trying to get up on it, and he fell off the couch. You have, you see, oh, put my boyfriend in a chokehold. Oh yeah. How's everyone's night? Everyone's night's good. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, best of luck. Best of luck. Yeah, it seems like he lost. Oh, I wish him the best. Take a bite of cereal as a to your victory. But yeah, so this is the thing about Simulacrum. It can be used by a player. It can, but again, it calls into question what would you use would a you know, whatever level wizard, I think in order to cast a 17th level spell, you need to be level 13. So, you know, you got to think at 13th level, what kind of adventure is going on where you are going to be spending 12 hours casting, you know, one spell, worth 1,500 gold. I mean, sure, it is possible that a player could use this spell. That's why it's in the book. But I definitely feel like this is one of those spells that should be more reserved for the GM. Same with something like Prismatic Wall. Okay, this has often been said to be, you know, one of those spells that, like, as a player, it doesn't often make a lot of sense of when exactly you're gonna use this. Now, it is totally usable in, you know, in the grand scheme of things, but it's one of those things where this is more of a, you know, this is more of a thing that a DM or a GM would use instead. And that also comes into play with this spell, Dream of the Blue Veil. Okay, you have to question, you know, is this meant for a GM or is this meant for a player? This is a spell that allows you as an Arcana Bard or, you know, any one of these classes to teleport you and the other players to a different world. Now, granted, you do need to have an item from the destination world, but if you could get that, you could cast this spell. It takes 10 minutes and then you have to concentrate on it for 6 hours. But then you're teleported to another world, which means that you could be out of the campaign that you're in. You know, it's one of those things that there are spells out there that were not designed for players to use, but were designed to be tools for DMs. Simulacrum, Prismatic Wall, and Dream of the Blue Veil are some of those options, and they have been things that have been talked about in the DM community, or I mean in the D&D community in the past, of should these spells be in the DM guide and not in the player's handbook? Because in my opinion, that would be a good way to separate it. You know, take the spells that are that are meant for the DM and put them into the DMG, and have like a DM, you know, a DM specific list of spells that are available to NPCs that are leveled appropriately so that you know what they are and you can give insight for your players of like, you know, oh, you see this shimmering multicolored plane of light that forms a vertical opaque wall 90 feet long, 30 feet high, and an inch thick. Like, you know, this is what you see. But not necessarily giving them, you know, in their book. Are they labeled as such? No, they're not. There's nothing that distinguishes this from anything else. I mean, it's just right there in the player's handbook. But you know, that's the thing. Like, so is Simulacrum. You know, Simulacrum is also in the player's handbook. Granted, Dream of the Blue Veil was introduced later on, but that's the thing. I mean, if we jump up to some high level spells, you know, Stop Time, this is one that is, you know, meant more for a player, I would say, but can also be a pretty ridiculous thing for a DM to use, because if a DM were to use this, pretty much, you know, none of the other players can do anything for, you know, anywhere from what, 2 to 5 turns. I was forgetting about weird. In the end, though, players would wonder what in the D&D world exists so that PCs... Wait, what? In the end, though, players would wonder what in the D&D world exists so that players can't use a spell. It's very simple. That's actually very simple. That wizard made it up. That mage made up that spell. They spent their entire, like, let's just say, for example, let's take Prismatic Wall, okay? It's not in the player's handbook. Let's say in this alternate universe, Camel Storm, exactly. Okay, that, as shitty as a thing that is, that's an example, okay? You know, the spell Summon Beast is a spell that's available, okay, and it's a 5th level spell, or it's a 2nd level spell. But if you were to then say, okay, there's a 9th level version of this called Camel Storm, where, you know, a camel appears, you know, camels fill the sky, the sun is blotted out by a dust storm, and there's, you know, there's howling winds, you know, it imposes disadvantage on perception checks, it's the heavy wind, I think it's like the extreme weather, no, not wait, is it in this table? No, wait, is it in here? I know there's like the extreme weather section that actually, maybe it's under extreme heat, but like you impose this and it's like that's its own spell because that wizard made it up. So again, you can make that argument, but you could honestly make that same argument about literally any spell. If I, for example, wanted to say, okay, in my game, nobody is allowed to have access to the find or the bless spell. Okay, no one's allowed to use it. It's off limits. Why? Because you need to be a member of the main church to use it, and if nobody's a member of the main church, nobody gets to use it. Yeah, that's simple enough. How is Aberrant Dragon Mark? What do you guys think about it? I've put Aberrant Dragon Mark on a character in the past. It's, for those of you that don't know, Aberrant Dragon Mark is a spell that you bump your constitution up. It was introduced in the Eberron book, but you get a bump to your constitution, and then you get to learn a cantrip and a 1st level spell from Was it the sorcerer or the warlock? I think it's the sorcerer. Could be wrong though. Sorcerer. Okay. Yeah, you get to cast that once per day, and it is Constitution. This is actually where there was a big push for the sorcerer to be Constitution-based caster. So, is there a werewolf race? Not officially, no. Not officially, no. There are homebrew things out there, but the reality is, you're gonna probably end up going the blood hunter like route to be like anything associated with a werewolf, unless you go completely homebrew, because there are homebrew options out there. One of the ones that I'm thinking of was it it wasn't the Revenant, it was something that allowed you to like pick and choose some of your own stuff. Can't even think of what it was called now. Or was it the Hexblood? No. Was it Reborn? No, that's the undead one. You know what? Truth be told, probably the closest thing you're gonna get to it is gonna be a shifter, because as a shifter you get to either be beast hide, where you get like a little bit thicker of like a coat of fur and whatnot, long tooth, where you get elongated fangs that allow you to make an unarmed strike, swift stride that increases your speed, and then wild hunt, which gives you like an advantage on wisdom checks if like you're hunting someone, and no creatures within 30 feet of you can make an attack unless you're incapacitated. Yeah, Kavarda did do a werewolf. He was a blood hunter. He was a path. I don't know what the blood hunter like subclasses are called off the top of my head. Gotta come down here and turn on default. Which one is it? It's that one. Yeah, so Lichen right there. So Order of the Lichen, yeah. So this is a lycanthropy setup. You know, that's the whole blood hunter subclass. It, you know, it allows you to change and revert back. And I think you can, yeah, you can do it for up to 1 hour. Yeah, and I can't remember how many times you can do it per day, but I think but yeah, I would honestly say if you wanted to go with some race that is actually at least in the book, Shifter would probably be as close as you can get to it, because it's kind of the same thing. You know, it's a bonus action. You become a slightly more bestial. It lasts for a minute. You gain some temporary hit points. You can shift the number of times equal to your proficiency modifier, and you get those back on a long rest. Now the downside is you do have to, you do only get one of these per shift. So it's whenever you shift, you gain an additional benefit based on this when you choose the race. So you are only getting one of these. So it's not like, oh, I mean, I guess if you talk to your DM, you might be able to make a case of like, if you really want to go the werewolf route, they might let you kind of like go back and forth on these. But like at the end of the day, you're supposed to like pick one of these, and that's the one you go with. Shifter, wild magic barbarian. Actually, you could go the beast barbarian, a shifter beast barbarian, where when you rage, you get like additional natural weapons. Yeah, it is a cool option. And yeah, like it would play really well playing a shifter Path of the Beast barbarian. Be sick. All right. Whew. So yeah, I'm gonna answer this other question real quick, because it's kind of gonna bring me up to something that was talked about over in the chat the other day. A pretty cool concept. So Stacy asked over in the advice corner, generally speaking, someone on Facebook mentioned they use a wheelchair in real life and wanting to incorporate that into a D&D adventure PC. Overarchingly, just like the topic of having a disability or similar, sort of ties into the idea of rolling those kind of low stats for all the physical skills from the other day. So if you are unaware of what we're referring to, the other day we were talking about different ways of rolling stats, and from that, one of the options was to just roll straight down. So a lot of times when you roll for stats, you roll 4d6 and drop the lowest. So I think I can do that in here. I think I need to just put, yeah, there we are. So for example, if I was rolling stats for a character, those are my stats right there in the corner. So I got an 8, 10, 13, 14, 16, and 15. And then I could allocate those to whatever I want. So if I wanted to play a shifter barbarian, okay, as a barbarian, I should be putting my primary stats into strength and constitution. So I would want my strength to be a 16. I'd want my constitution to be a 15. I would probably drop my charisma, because charisma for a barbarian is not going to be that overtly necessary. I'd probably put my 10 in intelligence, and then go for dexterity at a 14 and wisdom at a 13, or vice versa. So when you roll stats this way, it allows you to design the character that you want. Now, there's other ways of doing stats. There's other ways, you know, you can do the standard array, which just gives you an 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, and you just allocate those how you please, much like what I just rolled. You can also do point buy, where you have a certain amount of points, and once you get like your ability score up to a 13, so like 10, 11, 12 each cost 1 point, but going from 12 to 13 costs 2 points, and 13 to 14 costs 2 points as well. And then it kind of goes up from there, so it limits you on what you can do. Point buy, I don't have a great example, because I know that OBS doesn't show drop downs, but for example, right here, this is a great example of what point buy can get you. So point buy with this character allowed me to fully min-max them. I gave them 15s in their most necessary stats, and they have 8s in everything else. So I have 3 negative ability scores, but the stuff that I really rely on with this character, Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma, is as high as I can get it at that time. You know, here's the standard array, like I said, 8, 10, 12, 13, 4. Oh, you can't see those. That's what I was saying a minute ago. But one of the other ways, and actually the first way that you would do statistics, that you would roll your ability scores, is you rolled them straight down, and you only rolled 3d6. So for example, if I was rolling this character, I got a 6 in strength, I got an 11 in dexterity, a 12 in constitution, an 11 in intelligence, a 7 in wisdom, and an 8 in charisma. And so from that, you now have to figure out, not, you know, oh, I want to play this character and let me roll my stats after. Doing it this way, you roll your stats first, and then you figure out what you are going to play. So this character that we just rolled up, is there a background that's like a there literally is a background. There's literally a background called chef. Or wait, I'm thinking of a feat. Sorry, I'm thinking of a feat. You could do like clan crafter as a background. That would probably be something. You guys can't see what I'm looking at. Sorry. Yeah, like you could do clan crafter. That, you know, you would get an artisan tool, which you could make into, you know, chef's tools, cooking utensils. Trying to get rid of all this homebrew stuff. Beyond that, you could do a shipwright. They kind of fix things, but they did cook a little. Outlander, guild artisan could be, you could be a part of like the chef's guild. Could be honestly, you could be a chef entertainer. Yeah, I know there's a feat. That's what I was thinking of. Which is where you gain proficiency with cook's utensils. You can make these little like foods that allow you to help your allies restore some hit points. So yeah, it was sick. But yeah, so back to the ability scores. Like I said, if you actually rolled up a character like this, you know, this is where you have to sit and question, okay, with these numbers, what is my character going to be now? Okay, I have a 6 in strength, so and you know, I should not be playing a fighter. I shouldn't be playing a barbarian or a paladin. I also have fairly low charisma and wisdom, so those are 2 primary spellcasting skills when it comes to you know, warlocks, paladins, sorcerers, druids, clerics, monks would probably be a little out of the question too. So what I would actually say for this particular set of numbers, I would play this as a wizard. I'd play this as a wizard, and I would you know what? Actually, let's do this. Let's make this character real quick with these stats. So turn those on. We'll turn these on, and we're gonna call this character this. So folks would really roll straight and then decide, yes, that was 100% the way that it used to be. You did not go to the table saying, I'm going to play a barbarian, because if you rolled like I did, the rest of your party is going to look at you and say, you're not playing a barbarian, because we're not going to have a barbarian with a -2 modifier to their strength score. You know, they just, the rest of the party would not have it, because there comes a point where you can play with a deficiency and you can play a character that has a hindrance, but if you sat down with the expectation to run a barbarian, and granted I rolled a 6 here, but like, let's say that I rolled a 4, there's no way in hell that I'm going to be an effective barbarian. So I need to readjust what I'm going to play. But that's where kind of the way that I forget exactly who said it. I think Nacho Man said it. Yes, Nacho Man said it. The dice have a story they want to tell. So, you know, that is what we have here. Now, when it comes to the races, this is where you actually get a little bit of option to kind of bump these stats up a little bit. So obviously right now, my constitution is a 12 and my intelligence is an 11. So I need to bump up my intelligence by, you know, at least 1 or 2. So I know for a fact that Fire Ganassi get a bump to their intelligence and constitution. I also know that gnomes also get a bump to that. And I do have a okay dexterity score. So I honestly might go with a gnome for this one. But you know what? Let's actually look at what race options we have that increase our whatchamacallit, our intelligence. Where we at? There it is. What would you say is a better weapon for a barbarian? Because I chose double-sided scimitar. Okay, well, it's been so long since I looked at the double-sided scimitar. Come on. Okay. If you make an attack, you can use a bonus action immediately. It deals instead of... Okay, so if you are under level 5, you get 2 attacks. 1 is your action, 1 is your bonus action. And if you hit with both, you're dealing 3d4 points of damage. After level 5, when you get extra attack, you're dealing 5d4. Okay, so let's look at Great Axe and Great Sword. Great Axe is 1d12. So 1 attack, you have a less of an opportunity to miss on what's up Sapachu. So Great Axe is 1d12. Okay, you're only doing 1 attack. But here's the thing, everyone thinks a Great Axe is really good, but you know what's technically better? It's the fact that Great Sword has a higher threshold of damage. So if you attack with a Great Axe, it's 1d12. So your threshold of damage is 1 to 12. If you attack with a Great Sword, since it's 2d6, it's 2 to 12. So you're technically better off with a Great Sword. But A double-sided scimitar, because it's 3d4 on those two attacks, your threshold is now 3 to 12. But again, the double-sided scimitar has the downside that you have to make 2 attacks in order to get up to that threshold. So realistically, greatsword, excuse me. Realistically, greatsword is the mechanically superior choice between great axe and greatsword. But does the no, they're both the same. They're both melee. Great swords honestly cost more and are twice as or not twice as heavy. They're a little bit lighter, but they have the exact same things going on for them. There's really no unless you got up into like a lance or something, you really wouldn't be getting into range. But lances have their own issues. For example, you know, a lance also does 2d6 is better than 1d12, yeah, because if you look at it, if I'm rolling 1d12, I have the opportunity to roll 1 through 12. But if you roll 2d6, since you're rolling multiple dice, the worst that you can roll on both of those dice is 1, meaning the lowest you can roll is 2 points of damage. So even though it's only 1 point, you technically have a higher threshold of damage. Statue, how's what's up? How you doing? Did I hydrate? Yes, I did hydrate. This is filled. Funny enough that you asked that. I think I have them still in the trash. Yeah, actually, this whole bottle is filled with liquid IV, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a hydration formula. I dropped my Apple Pencil. Did I stretch? No, but my whole body stretches every time I move. And also, you're handsome. Oh, well, thanks. That's kind of you. The best weapon is the blowgun because you can use it as a snorkel. Changed my mind. Sap, I'm gonna blow your mind. I gotta find it. Here it is. So if you are Sap, if you are unfamiliar with who Bob Worldbuilder. If you don't know who Bob Worldbuilder is, definitely check him out on YouTube. Why is that so big back there? Hold on. But Bob Worldbuilder actually put out this document at one point to give 3 different variations on the blowgun. One, the standard one, which is a simple weapon, 1 piercing, it uses ammunition, increases its range actually. So if you didn't know, it was 25-100, it is now the 31-20, but it has this new ability called concealable and stealthy, where you can have it disguised on you and you have advantage on dex checks to actually hide it, and it's stealthy, so when you attack while hidden, they may notice your attack, but they don't automatically know your location. Yeah, definitely one of the cool things, because then you got the war blowgun, which deals 1d4 piercing. It's 2-handed, it's one of those bigger ones, and just like you said, snorkeling. So you got you got good folks out there thinking the same thing you are. All right. Yeah, even when you bring averages into the mix, it's equal to the grades. Yeah, so because yeah, the average of 1d12 is going to be 7, and that's going to be the same as if you were to do 2d12. So again, it's that higher damage threshold that that you want to be looking at. And again, that's if you really want to like tick every box. But depending on how you're playing, the double-sided scimitar could work for you. You know, it's totally viable, and unlike everything else, it does give you that bonus action attack from level 1, technically, because you can't use 2-weapon fighting, obviously, if you have a great axe or a great sword, so you're not gonna be getting that extra one. So but I mean, and 2d8, so here's something to consider. Or sorry, not 2d8, 2d4. Something to consider is that a longsword, which has a standard damage of 1d8 if you have like a shield in your other hand, is 1d8. So technically this is hitting a higher threshold than a longsword, but is also giving you that benefit of getting that extra attack. And here's another thing to consider, Azzy. 2 attacks means 2 chances to critically succeed. While it is 2 chances to miss, it is also 2 chances to critically succeed. So keep that in mind too. All right, I need to see who gets a +2. Yeah. Ooh. Rock gnome. Vidalkin. Yeah, all the gnomes. Huh. Constitution, though, would be nice to have for this character, because we are going with a really sad... I straight up deleted my page that had those stats on it. Poop. This reminds me of an item I gave my gnome ranger and they loved it. 1 second. Yeah, love to hear about it. This type of straight rolling stats feels like one would have to become knowledgeable in the races and classes rolling stats. Like you started saying, you know, some races. Yeah, well, that was the thing. You know, back whenever people used that particular style, it was very much like making your characters was something that you had to was something that you just had to get like good at. It was also back in the days when you made multiple characters because you weren't necessarily sure that they were going to survive. So it wasn't even like a matter of you know, playing them through until they were whatever level. It was like you hoped that they survived, because it was mostly used back in like 1st, 2nd, 3rd editions. I think at 4th edition there was a little bit more leniency, and things were starting to move more towards like the story elements of stuff, and having characters survive considerably longer. And then obviously 5th edition is far more concerned about characters surviving considerably longer. I mean, let's do the math on that. Let's say an average of 10 AC on whatever the hell I'm hitting. Half of my roll will just miss. With a 1 in 20 chance I do potential double what? An average 10 AC. Bro. An average AC is going to be closer to like 13 or 14, I would argue. 10 AC is actually if a creature has no dexterity bonus. Boomer shooter, a light crossbow mounted on a boomerang. Before shooting as an action, you can use a bonus action to throw the weapon 10 feet away. Coming back to you after it shoots. Hitting or throwing the weapon itself deals 1d4 and gives your crossbow shot the same... Wait. A light crossbow mounted on a boomerang. You can use a bonus action to throw the weapon 10 feet away. Shoots. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that sounds pretty sick. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds pretty sick. You know what? This character is going to be Mark. It's going to be the Mark of Making. They love sniping corners while hiding and supporting the party. I could imagine. That would be slick. Hobgoblin. Ooh, Dwarf of Warding. Oh. That's a +2. Shit, what were my stats? It was 6, 11, 12, 11, 7, and 8, I think is what it was. Oh, damn it, whatever. Some of that might play into people thinking or feeling D&D has a lot of roles, learning all types of races, or just knowing you'd build several characters. Well, yeah, that's why a lot of people didn't play D&D back in the day. That's why it had a that's why it had that stigma of being a lot of roles and a lot of, god damn it, fucking format correctly. That's why it had those stigmas about it, because you did kind of have to know that stuff, or you had to have a DM that was quick at explaining that. So that is one of those things that has to be taken into consideration. Is modern D&D is more about the storytelling. It's still, D&D in its roots is a combat simulator that people have adjusted over time to be more story driven. I mean, it started out as war games where you played as armies, and then you had a group of folks that were like, well, what if I focused on this one character? You know, what if I was the general in this and like I want to tell their story? Okay, cool, you can do that. You know, and then you would play that out. But you know, that's again where where nowadays it's more based on the story, and so that's why a lot of stuff is moving towards that. That's why Tasha's Cauldron of Everything introduced the system where you don't have to abide by these stats. Okay, you know, an Scourge Azmar getting a +2 to charisma and a +1 to con doesn't mean anything when Tasha's Cauldron of Everything says, hey, you get to put a +2 in one skill and a +1 in another skill, and that's it. Or not skills, but ability scores. And again, that was kind of the same thing as like rolling straight down versus the new styles of rolling, where before before you were held to these. And even like orcs, for example, orcs used to have a -2 to their intelligence, or one of them did. I know one of them, I want to say it was orcs, I want to say it was the original orcs, had a -2 their intelligence modifier, and that was because there was historical books that had that in there of like old versions of the game where some races had negative attributes. But nowadays it's just pick what you want, make the character that you want. And I think that's great. I think it is good to be able to sit down and have a character concept in mind and be able to play them. But doing this, rolling straight down, being told that, you're going to have a strength of 6, you're going to have a dex of 11, a con of 12, an intelligence of 11, a wisdom of 7, and a charisma of 8. It forces you to think outside of your own predetermined box. Bad magic idea. A wand that instantly deletes any enemies but has a 50% chance of summoning. Oh my god. No. But having a 50% chance of summoning a simulacrum of Tiamat. Oh my god. Actually, you know what? I don't actually hate this idea for that magic item. You know what, Sapachu? This could be the wand of copy pasta, and what you would do is, as an action, you would force a creature to make like a wisdom saving throw. And if they fail, a copy of them is saved into the wand. And then for like 1d4 days, over the next d4 days, you can use an action to summon an illusory duplicate of that creature, and it lasts for, say, 1 minute, and you get to command them as like a summoned creature. That would actually be pretty sick. Sure, yeah. Summoning Tiamat to kill anything would be far goofier. You know what? Shit, I'm stuck on this idea. I know orcs had a negative attribute. I gotta grab my PHP. Ugh. I have like one of the first editions of the 5e before they started changing everything. The page that my book automatically goes to is always Bard. I don't know if you can see that down there. It always flips to Bard. All right. Oh, maybe it was half orc. Because now that I think about it, I don't think orc was actually in this book, but half orc was. There's an elf, human, dragonborn gnome, half elf, half orc. Not in there. Swear to God, some of them, somebody had a negative attribute. Can't remember now. All right. So I think I'm gonna go Mark of Making human. Yeah, it gives me an artisan tool. I know mending. Yeah. Yep, that's what I'm gonna go with. House Cannith, where the Warforgers came from. And we are going to make them know Dwarvish. We're going to give this to their Constitution. And they have Tinkerer's Tools. And you know what? I actually just realized... the Entertainer does not give you Artisan's Tools. It gives you an instrument, though, so you could make an argument with your DM that you swapped out an instrument with cook's utensils. You know what? I'm gonna say this character is gonna be an artificer. The stats that I rolled, he's gonna be an artificer. And I'm gonna say specifically probably an yeah, Sap. Yeah, tell us about this homebrew race. I'm gonna say wood carvers. Actually, not history. We're gonna go medicine. Make them level 3. Until recently, kobolds and orcs. Ah, kobolds. That was the one. Kobolds had a negative. That's the one I was forgetting about. Yep. I don't like that form of rolling for stats because you don't get to pick what you want to play, so I'm far more fan of just rolling for the numbers themselves than choosing to allocate them. Yes, that is true. That's actually why that's why newer versions have that. Again, rolling straight down was the way that it used to be. That was like the way that you did it, because instead of because it was D&D was a far more deadlier game back when it was like first, second, third edition. Things were going to go worse before they got better in a lot of cases, and your characters had to survive. It's not like a lot of the games nowadays where, you know, it's this handheld, the players can barely die, they only die if they're dumb kind of a thing. Old D&D was very much the DM versus the players in a lot of cases, and so by making you roll straight down and apply your stats and building your character from that, it made you really appreciate the character that you built, because you actually had to put time into what the stats you got were. You actually had to appreciate those stats. Wormfolk, small lineage, 30 feet walk speed, dark vision, advantage on escaping grapples. Ugh, burrow speed? Oh god, no. No thanks. DMs think flying speeds need to be banned at tables. Burrow speeds are so much worse. Only through loose soil. Ugh, still. When burrow, you leave a small tunnel behind. You can't do weapon attacks or somatic spells, but you are in total cover. You cannot be targeted by attacks, and it's movement speed, which means you can come up, you can attack, and you can go down in. Burrowing to escape an enemy does not ignore opportunity attacks. Okay, you actually did really well to try and nerf the burrow speed. Limiting it to loose soil only. You leave a small tunnel. Okay, but so here's the thing. If it can be through loose soil and you leave behind a small tunnel, could you then burrow under somebody, and could you burrow like down 30 feet? Okay, stick with me. Burrow down 30 feet, or 25 feet, arguably, and then burrow straight up underneath an enemy, and then turn 5 feet to the left. Because if you create a small tunnel behind you, then that character that you just dug a hole under could potentially fall down into that hole. I do like that you can't use weapon attacks, but I would argue that you can't use weapon attacks that require your hands, because if I was playing like a beast barbarian and I got a bite attack, I arguably should still be able to I guess that's more of an unarmed strike, and you don't list that it's you do list that it's weapon attacks, so unarmed strikes would still be allowed. I would maybe put on there, it's a small size tunnel, so they work on smaller. Okay. I would still, personally, just saying from my perspective, I would still try and cheese the hell out of that, where I create like a little circle under them and like zigzag back and forth in order to like get them to fall down at least 5 feet, to have their like feet stuck in the ground and have to use like a bonus action to pull their feet out. I would argue that the weapon attacks portion needs to expressly say that require hands, because if I'm burrowed underground and I have a bite attack, I should still be able to use that, you know. Or if I'm burrowed underground and I have a blowgun, like you said, you know, sticking up out of the ground in like a field of reeds or something like that, and somebody walks over to me, I should be able to shoot at least one shot up. I do like the fact that you have burrowing to escape an enemy does not ignore opportunity attacks, but I would be very careful with that, just because technically speaking, like, once you're burrowed, you have total cover, and so like that is arguing that you could be like at ground level and go under, and you're still only 5 feet away from them. You're 5 feet underground. You have not left their sphere of influence, and it's once you get 10 feet down, that's where that's where it would trigger the opportunity attack. So right, you're still in a burrowed state, yeah, but I mean, it's only when you go from 5 to 10 feet, so can't they see the burrow being made? They can see the burrow being made, but in order to get an opportunity attack, you have to see the creature. That's the thing about opportunity attacks. You know, right here, when a hostile creature that you can see moves out of your reach is a 5-foot sphere of influence around you. So technically speaking, that burrowed creature could, you know, if this is the ground, and you know, here's your character, here's the enemy character, you could be 5 feet directly underneath them and then burrow 5 feet down, and that would trigger that opportunity attack. They're now having to stab through the ground. That's why burrowing is one of those speeds that is not often given out to players, because there's a lot of DMs that don't like flying speeds, because when you fly, you know, you can avoid a lot of attacks, you have a lot of extra movement, you can also make attacks from very far away. But burrowing introduces the whole concept of like total cover, where you can't be targeted by spells. Since you're underground, you can't cast a spell down there, so you know, it imposes a lot of penalties towards those things that are fighting you. What'd you say, Z? Did it give you a javelin? No. What class are you playing? Well, that's your race. I asked what class. Oh, barbarian? Well, there it is. Yeah. Barbarians get yeah, great axe or martial weapon, 2 hand axes or a simple weapon, and then an explorer's pack and 4 javelins. Got to make some ranged attacks somehow. All right, so this character that I'm coming up with these rolled stats, he's 100% an armored artificer. 100% an armored artificer. We're gonna go Guardian. This is I played this style character before, so defense, I want a homunculus servant, and we're gonna go replicate magic item, and we're gonna grab the goggles of night to start out with. Manual. Bad magic item, a wand with identical ends. Casting a rain spell has a 50-50 chance of casting it behind you the opposite directions. Spells cast behind are upcast 1 level. Jesus. Damn. Spells cast behind are upcast 1 level. Huh. That would be interesting to try and play into. Huh. Imagining wizard turns around, walks away, casts fireball on a tree, destroys all the goblins. Yeah, that's the thing. That's a rough one. Oh man. Yeah, we're gonna give this character a boomerang. We're gonna go studded leather. All right, so there we go. There's a basic setup for this character that we rolled these stats for. Zutath, the human artificer, a never-ending corn cob. That's not a terrible idea. That's the best idea ever. I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds great. Oh, where is it? Yes, heats up will suddenly giant sphere. Jeez, God. All right. So we're gonna choose our. I could have had scale mail. You know what? We're gonna take scale mail. Let's grab some scale mail instead of that studded leather. All right, and then we're gonna make that our armor of magical strength. So that means that as an action, I can expend a charge to add my intelligence modifier to strength checks. I probably should grab a shield. Oh, thank you, Sap. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Very kind of you. All right, we're gonna increase that shield up by 1. And I think I can only have 2 of these going at one time. If I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. I can have up to 2 non-magical items, yeah. So this would be my character. Based off of these stats of 6, 11, we had 12, 11, 7, and 8. Going mark of making human artificer. This is Zutath. He comes from the house Cannith. I'm actually going to give him the dragon mark. We were just talking about that a little bit ago. But we are going to grab that. I already have mending, but we're gonna do produce flame. Wait, can I not do produce flame? All right, actually, do forge elemental weapon, and we're gonna do shield, and actually, you know what? We're gonna do lightning jolt. So a fun little human, not human, or I mean not variant or base. This is a mark of mark of making. So they actually get I get to make or anytime that I make an Arcana check that involves a set of artisan tools, I get to add that D4. I gained proficiency with Smith's tools, and I know mending and magic weapon. But I have a ton of tools: alchemist supplies, leather workers, mason tools, smith tools, thieves tools, sinker's tools, and wood carvers. He is a crafting person through and through. He has an aberrant dragon mark. So he is going to be straight from the house Cannith. He was I think this guy is going to be somebody who was probably okay. So create bonfire is so good. I do agree with that. You know, let me actually grab my other spell. So I do like create bonfire because it does work really well for just like conjuring fire in general. I do kind of want him to be more thunder and lightning based. I want him to be more lightning based than anything, so I'm actually going to take lightning dart as well because I want a spell that I am making attack rolls with. And then we're also gonna take what else are we gonna take? I'm gonna take mage hand. Yeah, we're gonna go mage hand. Did I see your new character? No, I have not. I've been working on this one. And then we're gonna be able to take 2 first level spells. So with that, I'm gonna say we're gonna grab identify, and we are going to grab catapult. Yeah. You know what? Actually, no, I'm not gonna grab identify. I'm not. Sanctuary's not a bad spell, but I don't really want anything that's concentration. That's the main. You know what? No, we're gonna grab cure wounds. That's what we're gonna do. All right, so here's this character. This is Zutath. He's a mark of handling human artificer, level 3, but with some very unheroic statistics here. This character was the last. He was the lowest member in his class. When he was going through the training to be a Canethian engineer, or no, it's not House Cannith. Shit, hold on. It's not House Cannith that I'm thinking of. I know which one it is now, and I now remember which one it is. It wasn't House Cannith. It was the Azit engineer. That's what it was. Oh shit. Fuck. I still want to stick with House Cannith. Still gonna stick with House Cannith. Fuck, what did I just take away? I think Carpenters. Yeah, we're gonna say House Cannith. That's where the Warforges came from. Azit engineers are very close to it. So yeah, so this character, he was an agent for House Cannith, and his main thing was that he wasn't really like the top tier. He wasn't really the top tier crafter in his house, but his specialty was knowledge on lightning magic. And specifically because of that, he actually worked on the lightning rail, which, if you don't know, is a it's like the lightning electric powered train from the Eberron setting. So that's who this character was. He was somebody that worked on he was somebody that worked on the lightning rail and developed it. And then he was stationed on the lightning rail after House Orin took it over. But he kind of worked to be this, to be this person that was kind of there. Sapchu, have a good night. It's fun meeting you. Before I go, let me distribute this fact. Casting Speak with Dead, then Speak with Plants and Animals lets you speak with yes, it does. I've heard that in the past, and I 100% agree with that. I do stand by that. Yeah. Yep. If anyone in my party would ever cast those two spells at the same time, I would allow somebody to speak with furniture and stuff and leather. But yeah, welcome. Enjoy your night. You have a wonderful evening, and we'll be glad to see you around if you come back. And if you want to hang out with the community, oh yeah, actually Stacy has that covered. There's a Discord for our little lovely corner of the internet. You can go to the link right there, or click the About button below the stream and join over there. We're always around. There's always people talking over there. But yeah, I don't mind this quick character. I'll probably put together a more solid backstory for him later. It's been a while since I looked up the houses of Corvair. So I'll have to do that later. That character, you want to take a look at Alpheus. Speak with Dead. Actually, unless you were to gain it some weird way, a ranger cannot learn Speak with Dead. Yep. Actually, the only solid class that could would be a bard. Clerics can learn Speak with Dead, and rangers and druids can learn Speak with Plants, but a bard can learn both of them. So, all right. Let's look at AZ's character real quick. There it is. All right, scrutinize time. All right, Wood Elf Monk. Some pretty decent stats. Way of Mercy. Okay, no feats. Haunted One. Wavering, Strong-Willed, Wishes to Atone. Kill. After killing too many instances, he turned to atone for his sins. Okay. Okay. So he's determined and strong-willed and wishes to atone for his sin and heal instead of kill. And after killing so many, he turned to monasticism and religion to help him atone, but he's also psychotic and murderous. Okay. So is he like out there? It'll make more sense. Okay. Takeda was a very troubled young boy as a wood elf. I also love the fact that it looks like you just have a straight up vampire as the image. Very troubled young boy as a wood elf in a shared community with halflings. He was not treated very kindly. What? Why? Especially due to his mental condition. He saw the joy not in bringing joy or having fun, but in causing pain. His parents and others around him never cared to help the poor boy out of his mental state, so he grew more and more deranged. As he aged more and more, you keep putting in this more and more. As he aged, he grew a lust for torture. I don't like this character already. He wanted to play with, yeah, no, I hate these sentences already. I don't like this. In his early 20s, he set his six sights on his sick sights on his family and friends. He slaughtered and tortured every last one of them, all with blades. He left no one alive. He said, haunted by his decision, grew to hate himself, what he had done, saw himself only as a monster. In that moment, he swore an oath. He wished to atone for his sins and preserve rather than destroy. He took to monasticism, picked up a blade again, for the fear of temptation that he would let himself die, for he atoned. So now he finds his calling and protecting. So why is this Tom Riddle? But yes, Tom Riddle does turn into Voldemort. Okay, so this was a kid who liked to inflict pain and torture. He killed his entire friends and family, and when he was done, he suddenly grew a conscience and was like, I hate myself for what I did. I'm gonna go become a monk and now never pick up a blade again. So instead, I picked up a sling and a set of darts, and I'm ready to kill. If I'm just saying, if this character was playing in my game, I would hold you to this whole thing of the way of mercy. If your character is haunted by their past, I would have it be like this, not necessarily this flaw. I would have it be where if your character is not actively seeking to heal those around him, he's taking levels of exhaustion. Because, like, you are building up a character. He wants to protect innocent. Right. So he is willing to kill, just not with a bladed weapon. So he'll pick up a big, like, stump and club someone to death, but he won't pick up anything that deals slashing damage. I mean, it is possible to play you know, it is possible. Here's the thing. It's totally possible to play a pacifist character. Okay? Somebody who says, you know, I'm not gonna kill. I'm going to heal the wounded and protect the innocent. But you know, like if you're going with the haunted one background and that he has PTSD, then that should manifest some way. That like if you kill somebody, you should have to make like a wisdom saving throw, or you know, have some kind of like have a nightmare that night. Or like any day that you that you use an ability that ends up killing someone, that night you should make a wisdom save. Or and if you fail, you take a level of exhaustion for the next day. Because I played a character like this. And you really have to give them a reason, you have to give them something to play off of if that's the route you wanted to go by. He has nightmares in his bed. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I had a character who had the haunted one background, and every night I made a nightmare check, and if I failed, he had nightmares the next day and had exhaustion for that day because he was haunted by the kidnapping of his brother. If your character has PTSD, like you have listed twice here, he should be having those episodes, and there should be some kind of consequence to that if that's his flaw. Flaws are built to be played into. So it should be something like, you know, anytime that you are the result of someone's death, you know, be that like you punch them, you have a ton of abilities that are going to make you kill people, unless, and this is the one thing that I would argue, you need to be very explicit with how you go forward and play your character. And anytime that you attack someone, say, I deal non-lethal damage, and instead of killing people, you knock them out. Because the character that I played that was a pacifist was a redemption paladin. He did not kill people. He only ever knocked them out. He did not like when other people killed people. So he would constantly argue for not killing people, that anybody could be redeemed. If he could be redeemed, because he had a troubled history, if he could be redeemed, anybody else could. And even if it was like some street thug, or even some like monstrosity that's just killing indistinctly, you know, it was something that he went against. He isn't against killing, he's against killing anyone he sees as innocent. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get where you're coming from. I just think that I'm just saying, like, if you go to play this character, like, this needs to manifest somehow through gameplay. Because, like, it is good that he, like, this last part is great. Like, he's already only using his hands in a slingshot. I ain't giving him exhaustion. Again, I mean, at that point, yeah, okay, but at that point, you have a monk that's able to heal but kill, you know, any other way. Again, flaws are meant to be played into. Like, I don't know. we've had our discussions about your characters in the past. You have a style with your characters where they have this horrific backstory that like taints their soul, and then suddenly something changes and now they're like, you know, trying to do right. I've seen that across a couple of your characters. But I mean, hey, if you're happy playing him and whoever else you're playing with is happy to have them on their team, awesome. Mercy monks are sick. But saying someone is impulsive doesn't mean that every other second they need to make... No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that when your character, if in the span from long rest to long rest, if your character ends up killing somebody because they are trying to atone for their sins of killing people, okay, arguably you can make it innocent people. If someone is self-described as innocent, or I guess by your own character's definition of innocent, if you end up killing that person, or if anyone else in your party kills somebody that's innocent, that should affect your character. And I would say a good way for that to be effective, that could have some kind of mechanical play on the game, is when you have those moments that night, as you are about to sleep, you make a wisdom saving throw. And maybe the DC's set to like 10 plus the number of instances that occurred. Okay, you killed somebody that was innocent, or your ally killed somebody that was innocent. It's the DC's at 11. If you fail that, for the next day you have, say, let's say that you would have you maybe have like disadvantage on wisdom checks because your mind is like being pulled in 1,000 directions. You know, you're not able to concentrate on things. I mean, exhaustion, level 1 exhaustion, sorry, I did not mean to click that. Level 1 exhaustion is going to give you disadvantage on ability checks. It's not attack rolls, it's not saving throws, and it just shows that your character is worn down. Maybe they didn't get enough sleep because they were haunted by their dreams. Again, that's the way that I played my character, and it was very fun because it meant that you could physically make a difference the next day. Like, okay, it's the next day, you're haunted by these dreams, you didn't get any sleep, you go to that character, you go to that other player in your group that ended up killing that innocent soldier the next day, and you just tell them like, hey, look, you don't understand the things that I go through when you do these things, and it affects me mentally, and I need you to understand that, and we need to figure out a way that, you know, we can you know, not kill these people because they are innocent. They shouldn't die like this. Okay, and then you build that up with your character. Again, it's not like, oh, every time that, you know, somebody dies you're rolling for anything like that. Like, absolutely not. But again, it's about taking something like this, because right now your backstory is basically you were the son of Satan, you killed everyone that ever loved that was ever in your life, and then you suddenly just you came to this revelation that it was bad what you did, and now you're like atoning for your sins. I mean, I would honestly say this would be more of like a path, like an Oath of Redemption monk. That is not all what happened, but sure. What do you mean? That is exactly what happened. I mean, you're saying, I mean, I get it that like people are, I mean, you have in here he was treated poorly. I don't know why, as a wood elf in a community with halflings, arguably in most standard lore, halflings are like the chillest people ever. All they want to do is sleep, eat, drink, and like smoke hookah and shit. So I mean, sure, he was treated terribly But you have it here that it was due to his mental condition. But is this his mental condition? That he saw joy not in bringing joy or having fun, but in causing pain? Because if that's his mental condition, that's a serious issue. And, you know, like, that's a serious issue that like, might be the reason why he was not treated very kindly. The idea is that he himself was a victim, but he still won't forgive himself because of his actions. Sure. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, he's a victim of the circumstance. But, you know, I guess there's that whole thing of nature versus nurture, if this is the nurture thing. And also on top of that, you also have here that he was psychotic. So ooh. Yes, he did not get the proper help. Well, that's why he's an adventurer. So that's, you know, that's why he has this tragic backstory where he just went and killed every one of his friends and family. I don't know. Like I said, man, it's not my character. You know, you do what you want to do. Like I said, I try and focus more on mechanical stuff when it comes to a lot of these things, because your backstory is going to be personal to you. I made a character. My very first character was born as a result of you know, forced intercourse, and the woman that birthed him was shunned by her family and hated. And it's not a kind of character that I would play, I would make again, because I just don't care for those tones anymore. But, you know, because, like, this stuff is all going to be whatever, you know, whatever you want it to be, because I can't judge you on that. Because, I mean, I can't sit here and say that, like, oh, you need to change this backstory. I can only look at your character from the perspective of, you know, you're a wood elf monk, haunted one. You know, that's all I can look at. That's all I can really judge this character by, because I would not make this backstory. I would not put these flaws and, you know, ideals and stuff in, because that's not the kind of character that I would play. But if you are happy with this character and you're happy with the backstory that you crafted for them, that's awesome. I mean, play them as you want. You know, for me, I mean, wood elf is kind of weird for monk, but, you know, you do you, bro. I mean, it's cool, like, because you do get to hide. Like, the Fey ancestry stuff is good, but you know, you're probably not going to be you're not going to be using a lot of these, like, elf training weapons. The extra speed is good, because that is going to be, like, that's going to be building up as you play, because you're going to get the additional mobility, yeah, unarmored movement. So you are going to be moving faster than most other people. And I do like Way of Mercy monks. You know, I like the whole thing that you can heal people when you use Flurry of Blows. Like, that is sick. But you know, that's really all that I can judge your character on, because, you know, your background is personal to you. So, yeah, I mean, pretty standard monk. I mean, you got your stats in the right spot. It's pretty much right where they need to be. Yeah, it's fine. Ooh. Oh, that's right. I was gonna touch on this. All right. So, generally speaking, somebody on Facebook mentioned about using a wheelchair. So that's right. We were getting into this. That's actually why I made that one character. So bidding with low stats is meant to be an example of a disability. No, I don't. I think you can make a character with awesome stats, with really high stats, and still give them a disability. I don't necessarily think that, you know, like, what do you consider a disability? Are you saying a physical disability, like they have a wheelchair, they have a missing eye, they are missing an arm? You can still have an 18 strength and be missing an arm. You could be in a wheelchair and have a plus, have a +3 to your dexterity because it's more about your upper body. There literally is a wheelchair in D&D. There's I want to say that there is a wheelchair item in D&D. Shit, I want to bring up this character real quick so I can look this up. No, it's not in there. Oh, what is this? Is this it? Yes, here we go. All right. Yeah, the combat wheelchair. We got version 3.0.1. Yeah, here we go. So it can be folded up and can put on the side of a cart carrying it. Your carrying capacity, blah 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 blah. Yeah, so it has a movement speed of 30 feet. Upgrades can be purchased to increase the speed. It also has the swift feature. When you're using it, your movement speed is determined by your character's ancestry or class. Yeah, like this was a whole thing. So there's all kinds of stuff with it. Like I'll post this here in the chat. I guess that's the difference. When I come to your character making styles, you see it as a game first. I see it as a writing prompt first. So here's the thing about that. I have made so many characters over the years. I don't see it as a game first. I see it in both ways off the bat, okay? I've talked about this character in the past. This is a 30-page backstory for a character that was level 3. Okay? I wrote this before I ever played the character. All that I had when I started this character was that he was an Aasimar. He was a Haunted One Aasimar warlock. And that's what I started with. And as I started to build that character, I elaborated on his backstory. I have made tons of characters in the past that I have wrote their backstories before ever sitting down and figuring out their mechanical, aspects. But the problem about reviewing somebody else's character is that I am not able to review it. I'm not, reviewing somebody's backstory is kind of like reviewing poetry. I can look at it analytically. I can say, well, you made the wheelbarrow red because you have angst and fire in you, or you made the curtains blue because you have sadness and depression. But in reality, it's one of those things of just, it's how you wrote your character backstory. And it might not go that deep, or it might go that deep, but that's not for me to sit there and determine. So when I look at your character, I can really only judge it based on what's the build, what does it look like. You know, I can read that your character has a tragic backstory that they're trying to atone to it. I can look at their ideals, their bonds, and their flaws, and I can try and get a grasp of the character that you're playing. But because I'm not sitting there about to DM for your character, that's about the limitation of where I can really take it. Because unless I get to put my fingers into it, my judgment is limited. And it's not my place to judge your character's lore. You know, I can give my opinion and I can say it's not something that I would have built, and it's not a character that I would play. But that doesn't mean that it's not a character that doesn't deserve to be built or doesn't deserve to be played. And if that's how you want to build your character and that's how you want to play it, that's awesome. And if you focus solely on your characters being a writing prompt first, the way I was talking about it was very dismissive. Again, that just might be the way that I talk about it. That, unfortunately, I can't help. It might just be the way that I was talking about it. Again, as I, you know, I'm gonna give my opinions. I mean, mental health is a massive issue, and is one of those things that a lot of people struggle with. Unfortunately, though, you are talking to a guy who not only ignores his own mental health problems, but his own physical health problems. So when I personally read a backstory that says a wood elf grew up with half elves and he got joy out of hurting things, my initial response is going to be, this kid needs to fucking get over it. Because unfortunately, that's where my mind goes. But my mind then immediately, the first thing my mind went to was, you know, if this was actually, if I was trying to build out the expanded lore, why was this kid like not kicked out of the village? You know, if nobody took care of him, why did they not like ostracize him? Maybe they did, and maybe that's just part of the unspoken backstory that, you know, that wasn't there. And I think elaborating into that could also provide some insight. But, you know, again, it's when it comes to your backstory, it's all going to be very personal. And if I come across as dismissive about it, that could just very well be the fact that I'm very dismissive about like a lot of mental health things. So I was wondering how no one found out he murdered so many. I mean, again, that would be something that like a DM would start getting into. If for example, I was the DM for that character, one of the first things that I would do is I would start to have it where that character was being hunted for what happened. That, you know, people were out there looking for him and were trying to hunt him down. And granted, he changed his name and he joined a monastery. But I would play that into the story that would unravel around him and have him face those aspects of his past, because that's the kind of development that I think would, you know, should happen with a character, is when you have a tragic backstory where they have some kind of sin, that would be something to play into. But again, I'm not the DM with your character. So again, I can only look at it from, you know, a very outsider's perspective. I can say it's not a character that I would play, but again, it's a character. All characters deserve to have their stories heard. So I apologize if I came off as dismissive. Like I said, that's very possible just based on my own mental issues of I don't put a lot of onus in mental health. I grew up in a family and in a culture where mental health is one of those things that's like at the tail end of everything. You feel sad, get over it. You know, you're upset and don't like this thing, yeah, get over it. But you know, again, that's me. All right, so yeah, I clicked away from it. I just realized that. But yeah, going back to what you were asking, Stacy, the combat wheelchair is a thing. So if somebody's out there wanting to have a straight up wheelchair for their character, that is a thing. So you can definitely do that. But I wouldn't say that you could play low stats as being a disability. I would just be very understanding that some people could take the representation of certain abilities, or certain disabilities as offensive. You know, you have a character with an extremely low intelligence, you could play them a very certain way that would offend a lot of people. You have a character who's very low constitution where they're constantly getting sick. That's something. I like writing about mental illness because it helps give more clarity on the issues to bring more understanding of the very real problem. Every person can become a hero, and if they've done terrible things, it's true. Also, everyone is the hero in their own story. You know, I don't think anybody's out there thinking that they're trying to be a villain. I think also everyone can be a hero, or everyone can be a hero even if they've done terrible things for the right reasons. One of it's gonna be a really cheesy comparison, but like, look back to Naruto. Itachi Uchiha, he was somebody that was a monster in the early parts of that show, and then you learn later on, that he did things for a reason, and it allowed you to change your perspective on him. And I think in that regard, if you have something like that, that can be something to play into. And it's good. This is why D&D though needs people like yourself and people like myself and anybody that plays, people with different perspectives and viewpoints to make varying characters. It is good to have characters that face mental illness problems because it can offer opportunities to affect the real life. So I have to be careful about crossing lines. Yeah, so that's the thing, that's the one thing. Like I said, I probably would not, if I wanted to make a character who had a physical disability, let's say they were missing an eye, okay? I might say that they have maybe I roll a character who has really low wisdom. Something like that could be played into giving them maybe they have a missing eye, or something happened that reduces their perception. Maybe you rolled a character with really low dexterity, and so you want to give them maybe they have a stump leg, okay, or maybe they're just missing a leg and they have some kind of apparatus to help them out. You could also play something, where is it? It's the Astral Self Monk. Okay, the Astral Self Monk is one of those really cool subclasses that gives you like astral projected limbs and stuff. Yeah, spectral arms. So that was actually a really cool character where if you got a shit strength score but you got really high wisdom, you could play a really cool astral self monk because you get to swap those things out. Quote that is something like it's a throwaway line for Wreck-It Ralph. Oh, I don't think that's a throwaway line. I think that's like the main. That is the main thing about that movie. That was in the trailer. Just because you're the bad guy doesn't mean you are the bad. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, because was that Bowser or was that Zangief? I think that was Zangief who said that. Wreck-It Ralph was a great movie. I never saw the second one. It's not ramen. That is frosted flakes. Very mushy frosted flakes at this point. But yeah, it's from the void. It's from the nether. I used to actually have my camera stop like right at that pillar. I used to have it where it stopped so it looked like I was pulling something from behind there. I don't do that anymore. I took it from the character. Yeah. I'll make sure I put something like right here from now on and just like whoop. But yeah, so I'm gonna put here combat wheelchair, and you can incorporate a disability into a character regardless of stats, but you can play into a low ability score by introducing a disability. So yeah, I think that's a good option because, you know, this is a great example, you know, with this character that was developed the other day over in the Discord. From that discussion about rolling for stats, you know, I made I think Stacy, you rolled for these stats, and you know, you were kind of having an idea about who this character might be, and looking at the high charisma, the higher intelligence, but like limited everything else, my mind kind of went with, you know, something that focuses more on that charisma, that intelligence, and eventually thinking of a noble bard. And yeah, you know, I kind of knew already that you know, the half elf was the route I wanted to go because it had certain attributes that I was looking for. But Mark of Detection worked out really well because this was a character that was going to be finding stuff. They're not a physical character. You know, she's kind of clumsy. She's not very strong. She doesn't get sick all the time, but she's definitely not the healthiest character. You know, she's easily exhausted, but she's charismatic as shit. Come on, get away. So, you know, for this character, having a 6 in dexterity, you know, that means that she's very clumsy. She's slow to react. So you could play this character as, you know, maybe they have maybe one of their feet is like shorter than the other, or one of their legs is slightly shorter than the other, so it makes running more difficult. It makes their stance, it makes their walking gait a little bit odd, and so you could put that, you know, maybe if you wanted to play into that to give them a physical disability, maybe you drop their movement speed by 5 feet, because it like is physically charging, or it is physically challenging for them to run and keep up with everyone else. So that's definitely an option. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think right there you can incorporate a disability into a character regardless of stats, but you can play into a low ability by introducing a disability. There you go. But I know it's only been about 2.5 hours. I know it's still very fairly early. But I'm probably gonna actually call it here. I was gonna talk a little bit about this book that I got. I haven't really looked into it a whole lot. I don't even know if my other camera's turned on in order for me to use it. Hey, there we go. So this book is called 9D6 Quest, a solo dice management game of fantasy adventures. It's not a standard D&D book. That's the key thing about this. This is not a standard D&D book by any capacity. This is not like a supplement or anything like that. This is its own thing. But I picked this up the other day on Amazon because it was only a couple bucks, and I wanted to see what it was. I thought it might be interesting. But it's very basic, it's very simple, and the whole concept is that you pick a character that you want to play as. Where's the characters? Here they are. So there's it's also very, very adorable art. So you got a knight, a mage, ranger, barbarian, cleric, and chaos slayer. And on the next page, we have the witch hunter, the thief, the veteran, scout, rogue, dragon slayer, and bard. So you pick your character, and then there's a number of quests that you can go on, and then they have different maps that are in here. And the way that it works is that you have 9d6, like the name implies, and that determines like your hit points and everything. That determines your ability to do anything. And there's like little quests that each one of them takes about a half an hour to 30 minutes to run through. So my plan is there's hopefully going to be a day that I can actually get this like on a digital format, so I can do it on the computer and you guys can see it. We can try it together. Because they have like these nice little adventures that are on here. So for example, quest for the magic item. Start at a random star hex. So when you whatever map you choose, because you can choose randomly, they have those little stars. You pick one of those, or you roll for it. So you start at a random star hex, choose a magic item from the magic item list. You must find it and bring it back to your initial star hex. You must explore hexes in search of clues and find the stolen item. Exploring a hex requires a roll against a d5. So if there's anything in there that's like against a d5, you have to roll your d6. And if you get above a 5, then you succeed. And you can kind of choose however many you want to roll. But if you roll a 1, that particular die like loses some of its health. It loses its effectiveness. We'll talk about that the next time. But yeah, no, like I said, this was a apparently a PDF. Oh, actually, I didn't know that, so maybe I'll pick that up as well. So yeah, I'm very interested in giving this a try. Like I said, it's not like a standard D&D supplement thing, but it was like a cute little D&D style thing. I want to try, like, letting my niece and nephew try it, because I think it might be fun to, you know, get them involved with it. Oh, what did I unplug? I unplugged my... There we go. Now I plugged my mouse back in, but now my webcam's not working. There we go. So yeah, like I said, I do plan on talking more about that on another day. So we'll maybe save that for next week. And like I said, I'm gonna grab a copy of that over on Drive-Thru RPG in order to have the PDF version. So I mean, oh yeah, it's only $8 over there. That's not bad. All right, so yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, everyone. I love doing these chill sessions where you can just hang out. AZ, Stacy, Sapachu, I know Jared was here earlier, so thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. And I will see you guys next time. I'll see you on Thursday for the first 15 if I don't see you before then. So thanks for hanging out, and you guys all have a wonderful night. Good night.